Welcome to Stay at Home Dads, a podcast.
With your hosts, Drew and Justin, a place where we talk about a lot of guy stuff.
And a little bit of dad stuff too. So kick back, relax, and let's talk.
Hey there, guys. Yeah. So today on Stay at Home Dads, we are going to talk about what type of dad are you? I mean, there's all kinds of dads. There's like the enforcer dad. There's the softy dad, you know, good cop, bad cop. And Justin's going to kick us off with just basically his parenting style. And we're going to kind of talk about it.
Yeah. So honestly too, just so everyone knows, if I look like right now, it's because I'm like 30 hours into my second COVID shot. So I don't feel super great.
Oh, damn.
But actually, you didn't even know that. But like, I just got my shot yesterday, and I kind of feel like ass, but I'm hanging in there pretty good. And my wife is out of town, so this is just a lovely day. And I had a bunch of turmoil with my kids tonight, and I had a situation with one, and fighting and quarreling in between the two.
So how did you handle it?
And I was like getting to my getting to like my limit of like popping, and it's like not like at a good time to like get to that point because it's like wind down time. It was just 7:30. It's wind down time. It's time to go to bed, and my kids are just like acting like freaking crazy animals. And I started getting like my pissed off meter started going up, you know.
Yep. And
I had to yell at them a little bit. I had to get them like to pick up their toys and to, you know, listen to me. And then we got them into bed. And then I had this situation with like an itchy ear that like freaked out my daughter because she like cut herself in her ear, like digging with her finger, and there was like blood going everywhere. And like I said, my wife's out of town, and then my 6-year-old's like crying because she sees blood, you know, and I'm just like, so I got that situation figured out. I know this is kind of a long tangent, but I had to sit down and I had to relax.
Yeah,
and I just had to just like kind of like no TV, no phone, and just kind of relax for a minute. And then I started kind of thinking about like what type of dad, you know, after I got kind of you know, you get kind of angry, and I was like, well, what kind of dad am I?
Yeah.
You know, like you said, am I the good cop? Am I the bad cop? Am I the fun dad? You know, and I started kind of thinking about things along that aspect. And I don't know, man. I feel like I'm a good cop because my wife I think she's harder than me. But now that my kids are with me tonight, they were saying how much they miss their mom.
Oh, geez.
She does this counting thing, right? Where she's like 1, 2, you know, and she gets to 3, there's trouble. I've tried to count, and they just look at me like, Dad, like they don't listen to my counting, you know. I feel like my only job is, and some of you may be able to relate to this. Andrew, you might be able to relate to it, but I feel like 70% of my job in this house is turning lights off.
Oh my God.
Yeah. That people turn on. Can you relate to that a little bit?
It's weird because when I was a kid, I remember my dad always saying like, he's like, if you're not in the room, shut the light off. And like, you're just like a little kid. You don't freaking like even think about it. So like, you're always doing it. But what's funny now is I got to be careful because my kid actually isn't old enough to be turning lights on and off. So when I talk about this, it's my spouse, my significant other leaving stuff on. I don't, you know, she's like busy. She's got stuff in her. She's got a lot going on because she's like, she's like working. But it drives me crazy because the bathroom lights are always on, and it's fine, man. I'm not doing anything else, right? So I might as well like walk around and shut the lights off all day because that's my new job. But
right, it's like, but I was gonna try to make like an Instagram post about it, like me walking up the stairs just to shut lights off, but I'm not tech savvy enough to figure that out. But like all the time, and my kids will literally, I'll watch them. I'll be like, hey, Olivia, go get your socks out of your room.
Yeah.
And she runs up there because we're going to go outside, and she goes in, and I'm watching her, and she literally turns the light on, grabs her socks, and runs out. And I'm like, hey, shut your light off. And she's like, oh yeah, okay. And she goes and does it. But like, I'm just like, well, I tell you this every day.
It's every day. I don't know why it bothers me so much, but it just does because there's 2 factors. There's the electricity bill, which probably isn't like that outrageously getting affected, but there's also like the light bulb lifespan. And for whatever reason, that bugs me because I'm like, it's just going to burn the light bulb out, and then I got to replace it. And like, ugh. So it's like,
that's classic dad talk. Like, that light bulb costs $2.87. And it costs 17 cents an hour to run that light bulb. And if you leave that light bulb on, and this is the math, and it's costing me never $12 a month or whatever. Like, I don't know.
But like, it's so silly because who really cares? Like, what's it really matter? I've tried using like it could be a fire hazard, like to my wife to see if that would work. It doesn't work. So I'm like, oh, if you leave it on all day, it could like get really hot and make a fire. Like,
she's like, that's what the circuit breakers.
And I think I just kind of made that up to see if it would work to get her to shut the lights off. It didn't work. So.
Right. It's just like, I don't know. On another note too, do you remember like when you were younger, and I do, and I'm actually like guilty of doing this to my kids now.
Yeah.
Is when you were younger, you would get the look. You get the look from like one of your parents, like,
yeah,
they're like, go do this, or you get in trouble and they give you that eye, you know?
Yeah.
And so I do that. And I remember that growing up from my parents. So
you could do you can do the look. You have the look. It's like in your arsenal if you have to use it.
Yeah, I think my face just does it. I think when you're a parent or when you're a dad, like you get irritated with your kid, your face just like
it's like
does this, like it's like you're having like an aneurysm thing, and your eyebrow goes up and your eye bulges, and it's like I feel like I remember that from my parents, and it's like bleeding over. It's like these little nuances from when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Like that now I'm doing to my kids, like, hey, Olivia, go do this or that. And she's like, why? And I don't give her like a legit reason. I say, because I said so.
Yeah.
And I remember that like when I was younger, my parents would say, because I said so. Like, you need to do this because I said so, you know?
Yeah. So I'd almost, what I was going to say was when you're like talking about that was it's almost like your parent powers activate. Like at a certain point, you're like, it's just like, it's like an instinctual thing, like where you come of age and you're like, I've got to look now. And like, they're like, oh, I better listen to dad now. He's got the look. You
get the look and you get the ability to smell when a light switches on.
Right.
That's the two powers. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. So when I look back to my like childhood, my dad was more of like the less intimidating. He was more of like the fun, softy kind of. I mean, he definitely had rules, and like you could tell like when he like reached his limit. But I feel like my mom was like way more strict. So she was like the more enforcer, and he was more of like the let's have fun. Like I'm kind of like your playmate and your dad kind of guy.
Right.
So that was fun. But
yeah, I kind of get into those roles. Like I think I'm the laid back one more. I'll like be pushing for something like hurry up and get dressed, like hurry up, like, you know, let's go. And then I'll catch myself and I'll be like, why am I in a hurry? Like, why is this so important for Kennedy to get her pants on really fast and dress? Like, or why am I in a hurry to get your teeth brushed? Or, you know what I mean? Like,
is it a dad
I've
thing?
kind of like, I catch myself.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? I can back off. Like, I don't need to be that crazy enforcer. And so I back off a little bit. You know, I mean, I'm not trying to be my kid's best friend. I think that's like a
mistake.
You know, me personally, like you don't want to be like that. Like, I feel like when I was in high school and when I was younger, like you saw those parents that were like the quote unquote best friend of the kid, and they would, I don't know, go help them get booze or go do this, or like they're gal palling around, you know, or whatever like that. Like, and I don't want to be like that. Like there needs to be a distinct line, in my opinion. So
I've heard of parents that will like let their kids drink alcohol as long as like they stay like with them. So like they could have their friends over and like they get them booze, and like the whole like policy is like, okay, well you can drink, but you have to like stay here with us. I think that's so weird. Like there's something just kind of like, I'd much rather do it my way, or I just did it in secret away from my parents, like a normal kid. I think that whole like environment of like doing it with your parents, I just feel like I don't want to get drunk with like Susie's parents. Like that's weird.
Right. That is, that is kind of weird. Like
I think so, but I don't know.
I mean, that's the whole point, is doing it in secret and doing it because you're not supposed to. Like, is that taking the fun away when Susie's parents is like, oh, you can drink in our basement, and it's like, well, that's okay. This isn't fun anymore. Like,
no, it's weird in my opinion.
Are you gonna be the alcohol? Are you gonna like give your kid alcohol, or if they're a teen and they want to like sip some wine at dinner? No.
I don't. It's a slippery slope, and I really don't want to like. God, you just like opened up like this whole like Pandora's box of like questions that I have now, like, because you know, we live in Colorado, like marijuana is legal. I also have like a ton of tattoos, and my wife, we've kind of like talked about that. I think my wife's getting a little nervous because she's like, do you think Sophia's gonna like want to get tattoos because of you? And I'm like, ugh. I'm like, well, if she does, like, she's definitely going to wait till she's 18 and we're going to talk to her about like, that's permanent. So, you know, because
Right.
most things I got, like when I first was 18, 19, 20, I've gotten covered up because like they were just like stupid, like really dumb decisions that luckily I was able to like get other things on
Yeah.
top of. I need to like explain that to her too, that like I didn't really start making good tattoo decisions until I was like in my later 20s, early 30s. Then I started getting
Yeah,
some,
that'll be a good teachable moment for her to be like,
yeah.
"Hey, look, honey, like
I got some dumb
I
stuff.
got this," and you could show her pictures if you have them,
I
like,
do.
and
Yeah.
I regretted it immediately.
hmm
And now look, 10 or 15 years later, I have paid money to have those like
Fixed
covered up or
or
taken
fixed.
off
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah. Yep.
So what
But
how how do you feel about like what was I gonna say? I had it here. I don't remember. But like what type of dad do you think you're gonna be? Like are you gonna be
uh,
like
it's
I
so
know it's
hard.
kind of a loaded
It's
question. You can't really pick. I mean, your
it's so
child is
hard
so
to
young.
determine because until she starts like I would like to say that I'm going to be that dad that maintains his cool. Like I never want to be the dad that just yells because I don't think any kid really responds very well to just a screaming parent. And while
Hmm.
it is shocking at first and it probably like kind of gets results for a while, eventually I feel like the kid just learns to like kind of tune it out. And then like instead of connecting with them, they just kind of like turn this dial in their mind. There's like, okay, dad's yelling, like I'm just gonna shut down. And that's not a good relationship. So I hope that like
I
I can
agree. I
always.
mean, you're kind of barking. You just bark these orders. Sorry, I kind of ran over you there, but
No, you're
like
fine.
work it. You just kind of like bark these orders, and then you get louder.
Yeah.
And then now, like when you turn the volume up to yell, then
Yeah.
you have to. Do you have to go more and then
Yeah.
more to get them to respond to you?
Well, luckily my wife
Like I
doesn't.
feel like with my with what's that?
I was gonna say, luckily with my wife, she doesn't respond at all well to like raised voices. And like if we've ever had a
Mhm.
conflict, if I at all start getting like loud, like she shuts down and like disengages. And that's really good because I don't ever want to be those parents just have like screaming matches back and forth. And I think like a younger version of myself, could easily have been that guy that like gets in screaming matches. But now that I've gotten older, I've realized if it's getting intense and you guys are getting too triggered, take a deep breath, walk away, come back in like 10, 20 minutes, try to like just find common ground,
Right.
because first off, it's not healthy for your relationship. Second off, it's not healthy for your kids to see you guys having that screaming match either. So,
Right. That's like that'd be like a horrible situation. Like me and my wife have talked about that too. Like we don't really fight like to that level. Like we've had discussions, sure, but we never like raise our voice. Like you hear about some like these couples and they're like oh you're such a bitch, blah blah blah, like kind of crazy, like cussing at
horrible.
each other and like all this, and it's like, and they do that in front of kids. Like
Yeah.
that's you know what I mean. Like that's not good. That's gonna morph. That does something to your child, especially a young impressionable
Well,
child that sees that
it
on a
norm
regular basis.
it normalizes that behavior, and then that
Okay.
behavior like continues. Like it's kind of like there's like a cycle because then like your kids will think that it's normal to be in relationships where you scream at each other and call each other obscenities, and that's not what you want to teach your kids. That's not the example that you should like show for like what a relationship should be, in my opinion. So
Right. Yeah, I agree. It's like, I mean, I've raised my voice. Like, I'll be honest, I've raised my voice to my kids, and like, I'll say stuff and I'll be like, hey, go do this. Hey, you need to do this. And I'll say it like 4 or 5 times. And then I'll be like, do I need to raise my, and I
of
start getting
course.
louder.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, and I go up a few octaves and
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
saying it. And then they're like,
Yeah.
oh
Yeah.
God, he's not messing around. And
Yeah.
then they
Yeah.
get up and do it.
Yeah.
And it's like, but like the same
Uh,
when Olivia, like example, my 6-year-old, she gets in trouble for something, and
yeah.
I can actually like sit down and I can talk to her. I can sit down and be like, you know what, like that was wrong.
hmm
You shouldn't do that, right? Or I'll be like, why are you in timeout? We use timeouts, and she'll tell me she knows
Yeah.
why, and I'll be
hmm
like, do you think that's like a right? Do you think that's a good decision to do that? And she's like, no. And then I'll be like, I'm really disappointed in you. And I can say calm talking words and she'll like break down. And I kind of feel bad sometimes.
Oh,
And
she'll
she'll just
cry.
get like, oh yeah, she'll get
Yeah.
emotional and be like,
Wow.
I'm sorry. And
Yeah.
I know that, and
Mm.
so it doesn't take the yelling
Mm.
notion.
Yeah.
It just takes like, a child. I mean, granted, she's old enough. Like I couldn't do that with my 3-year-old because she doesn't
Yeah.
understand, but like Olivia's 6 and she kind of understands like people's empathy and people's feelings and stuff. That stuff doesn't really come in until they get a little bit older. So,
Sure.
I kind of try to play that to my advantage,
Yeah.
And another thing is like, I don't entertain my kids, like going back to like the actual show topic, like what type of dad is like, I don't try to entertain my kids. I don't buy them a bunch of stuff. I'm not their friend. Like, oh, every time we go to the store, we get a toy, or every time we go here, we get treats or desserts and things at home. Like, I try to limit that to make those things like special moments, because then I think they really appreciate them a lot more. So
Nice.
That's kind of my style. I don't know if it works for everyone, but and I'm still coming into my own. I still have a 3-year-old, and you're going to come into your own too. So you're not really into you're into survival mode, I think, right now, right? Is that kind of where you're at?
And I think what kind of puts us ahead of like some is that we're actually like being mindful right now about what kind of parents we want to be. And that shows that we're actually thinking about like, well, how do we want to like present ourselves to our kids? And I think like when you have that kind of self-awareness, I think that's really powerful, because then you can kind of choose to create like you can manifest like the kind of parenting that you think is best. You're not just like reacting, you're thinking about, okay, I'm getting really angry right now. How am I going to respond? Okay, I could yell, or I could take a breath. Let's have a discussion, So.
That's a really good point. Like, because their minds are very young and they don't notice things that we notice as parents. So that's a good point that you brought that up. Like, that you're quick, you're quick on the fly. You can think and process much faster, and you can turn the conversation, or you can adjust how you parent and how you talk to them instead of yelling or whatever you do to, get the result that you want to get. That's really cool. Yeah.
Dude, great show, man. Like, I really appreciate you bringing this topic up. Like, I think it's something that we could kind of revisit at some point too, because there's so much to kind of unpack. But yeah.
Yeah, this all started with me looking at a picture of a dude in freaking New Balances and in jorts, or in freaking Dockers with a tucked in hard tuck on his shirt,
Like, so, what kind of dad do you want to be?
Cool.
Yeah. Man.
Well, I want to be that dad right there. So
yeah, man, thanks for bringing this up. And I do like this, because it's got me thinking about it, because I'm not really parenting right now. I'm just kind of caring for this little thing that eats and poops and cries, so like there's not like that aspect of like dealing with them like on an intellectual level yet. But
it's to that point, like, we have to be mindful, like when they get older, like we have to be mindful that they're humans. They have emotions, and they're people. They're our kids, and they need parenting, but they're also people that have feelings and emotions, and they react differently to different things. So just kind of be mindful of how you, conduct yourself, and I think it'll be better for you.
Absolutely.
I guess that's my words of wisdom.
So if you guys have any advice out there, like any dads or anybody out there that has experiences with their parents they want to share, we would love to hear. So please leave a comment, like, and subscribe. And thanks for joining us again today.
Yeah, check us out on our Instagrams. They're in the description below, and shoot us some messages or something. So we'll catch you next time.
All right. Bye.
All right. That's our show. Thanks for watching Stay at Home Dads.
You know the drill, guys. Blah, blah, blah. Hit that like button. Subscribe.
We'll catch you on the flip side.